We're going to get right into one of the most intense battles of our time, and that is teenagers and technology.
This is a piece of equipment that could be a portal to all the good things and fun and different things that people can use. And then on the other hand, it can be a portal to hell. It's up to our parents to monitor that.
Digital world's not going away, but neither is your influence. Welcome to Between the Trenches, where we step into real life battles that families are facing, that leaders are facing. And we're going to get right into one of the most intense battles of our time, and that is teenagers and technology. Aaron, we're going to talk about phones. We're going to talk about screens, iPads, smart televisions, social media. Obviously, you and I both know they're not just tools anymore. These things are the things that are shaping the next generation's identity. They are shaping their attention. It involves their spiritual formation. And obviously, we know that the question is not, is technology influencing our kids? It's how much is it influence them, and what is the cost that is associated with it? Today's episode is called Digital Disaster, and we're going to talk about how to shepherd hearts in an online war zone. And I've got a powerful guest with us that I'm super excited that he's here, one of my personal friends. Joining us today is Aaron Yarnell, who serves as the captain of the Technologies Division of the Knox County Sheriff's Office.
Yes, sir.
And Aaron is, he's not just behind the scenes, but he's on the front lines, and he knows how parents can respond wisely, not necessarily fearfully, but how do we raise kids who are not consumed by the digital world, still grounded by truth, and we're going to talk about it. So we're going to get into it. Aaron, thanks for joining us today.
And you know what? I want to interrupt Justin for the first person to interrupt him to say something. Who creates these titles? That was a great title.
Man, listen. Sometimes I just sit down and I come up with it. Sometimes I let chat help me adjust it a little bit. But did you like that one?
I did. That was good.
What did I call it? Because I don't even remember.
Hey, listen,
digital
it's
disasters.
Yes, it's like, wow. That's
well, the truth is we're living in a world where there are digital disasters. By the way, before we even launch into it, how has your world been, Aaron?
Wow, doing great. Thank you. We I live and work in a job with technology that's ever growing and ever evolving, and being a servant to Knox County. To be able to work in the technology crimes division, it's a blessing for me because I understand it. I've been around it my whole life, and we're seeing more and more criminals utilize technology to get a hold of our children.
And obviously we just finished up doing something with our senior adults here at our church where we dealt with that end of the spectrum. Now we're going to flip and go to the opposite end of the spectrum. We're going to talk about how parents can shepherd their teenager with and I personally, this is it's a subject for me that I'm particularly interested in and want to talk about because I'm at that season in life, Aaron, where Hannah and I have battled that whole, at what point do we put the phone into their hand?
Absolutely.
They're in public school. They're going to practices. I want to give them access to me should they need me in a quick whim or in a certain circumstance. But at the same time, I also know that when I lay that into their hand, I'm exposing them to things that they may not be mature enough for. And we're going to talk about how to counterbalance that. Aaron, when did you start falling in, just so our listeners know you a little bit better, when did you start falling in love with technology?
Wow. As long as I can remember. But it all started with the video game system.
I figured. Which one? Let's talk about Atari?
Let's talk about Atari 2600.
That's what it was.
Back in the day, buddy.
What game? Tell me what game.
It was a game called Berserk.
Okay.
And it wasn't a very popular game, but I fell in love with it. And it's kind of funny because the video games, back then, kind of a personal note, I've got every video game system since the 1970s.
You used to have an Atari?
Still have it. All four of them. Yes, all four of them still work, yeah.
So my first video game was an Atari. That was my introduction to it. Specifically Donkey Kong.
Okay.
I love Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
And it was the corded joystick.
Yeah.
It was the square remote. It had one joystick with one red button, maybe two red buttons.
Yeah. And man, how much have we grown since then? It's crazy.
Even just from like teenage years when I was just going into my teens, it was like Tecmo Bowl, where the guys, like their bodies, like their leg had two movements, and it literally just looked like some kind of digital image.
We go like the 10-yard fight. Remember 10-yard fight? Yeah.
Paperboy.
Yes.
Man, I could do this all day.
That's right.
I'm not as much of a gamer anymore. You still play games, obviously.
Of course, yes.
I don't play games as much anymore, but man, as a teenager and even as a young adult, I was passionate about it. Jumping into that Madden season and playing that whole 12-game stretch and trying to get to the national championship.
And I think that's where a lot of kids, they get introduced to technology through something they enjoy and they like. And
correct.
With video games. But as a parent, it's really challenging because they're doing things that we don't understand. Right? Because a lot of parents didn't grow up like me and you did, playing the video games and understanding that. And one thing that we talk about with the phones is with the child, you know, I always tell people in my presentations that never get your child a phone as a gift, because this is a piece of equipment that could be a portal to all the good things and fun and different things that people can use. And then on the other hand, it can be a portal to hell.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of bad things out there.
I love that.
And it's up to our parents to monitor that, because, you know, one of the most common questions I get, they'll be like, hey, Aaron, because I've been doing this for over 15 years, longer than that really, where I've been going out and talking about online safety, because we see the same things happen over and over and over, and crimes that's occurring in our own backyard, you know, that parents don't even know about. But one of the questions I get the most is, hey, Aaron, I want to know what app can I need an app that I want to monitor their pictures, their text messaging, their internet activity. I'll monitor everything. Could you please? And I always tell them, I got a perfect app. Are you ready to write this down? And they'll get all ready, and they'll get ready. I said, it's called being a parent.
Yes.
Right? You have to still be a parent
app
to your child when it comes to this technology.
Yeah.
Because our children are like sponges.
Yeah.
Right?
And don't you think that with apps, what we often try to do is we're trying to exempt ourselves of that personal responsibility?
You're right. You're right.
And you said something a while ago, never ever get, I don't want to lean into that for a minute. You said, don't give it as a gift. I remember when we presented, and in a minute we'll talk about when I have 2 kids that have phones now, and I'll talk about when. And Hannah and I went round and round about that. We were in disagreements as to when they could get it, when they should get it. But I remember when we gave the phones to our kids, to Lydia and to Lincoln, I did not present it as a gift, as a celebratory moment. I gave it to them not as a gift, but as a tool.
Yes.
That has a lot of responsibility that goes with it.
Yep. And that's a great way to do it. And use it as a tool for yourself.
Yes.
Because, you know, parents have got to remember that these phones are more for them than they are the kids. Now, the kids, they want it, right? They want to be able to play those games. They want to be able to take the pictures and send pictures.
They
want all
identity,
this. Right,
they fit
exactly. But what we have to think as parents is, this is a tool for me to monitor where they're at, to see where they're going, to see what activity they're doing on it. So it helps parents if you use the tool for good.
Yeah.
Like I spoke on earlier, it can be used for good or it can be used for bad. And as parents, just like with anything, I use the example of, you teach them how to ride a bicycle. What do? You got your knee pads, you got your elbow pads, you got your helmet, and you get on there, training wheels, whatever it is, and you're teaching them. And the reason why you're doing that is because you've probably fallen off a bike before, right? Yeah. You've had a bike wreck and it's hurt. So you don't want your children to go through that. So you teach them and you train them. And what we're seeing with technology and with these phones and these devices is, parents are not doing a good enough job of saying, hey, these are some dangers, and that's why we're going to talk about it. Right?
I love it.
And to be able to discuss that and have that open conversation.
I love it.
And I give an example of, at dinner table, no matter what time it was, if you're having dinner with your family, there's no phones, right? You have certain parameters you put in place. There's a child should never have a phone throughout the night. Don't let them keep their phones in the room. I always, with my kids, they have a charging station, right? We go back every night, they charge it, they get it the next morning. But that gives me time to physically monitor it, because you have to physically monitor these devices if you really want to know. And you know, when you ask your kids, let me see your phone, guess what? You're saying your phone, but technically it's the parent's phone. Let me see my phone that I'm letting you use. And when you get it, if they ask why, if they ask, what are you doing? That's when that parent comes out, not best friend. You got to be parents to your children, not best friends with your children. Right? There's a medium in there that you have to be able to say, I'm here to protect you, and I got to make sure that people aren't doing bad things or trying to do bad things. Yeah. Because it's up to the parent to be a parent.
It's honestly, Aaron, it's the same reason we don't put a weapon in our children's hand. We don't let them cook when we're not home with them. You know, it's just protective measures.
It is.
We're going to jump deep into it. We're going to talk about it, but I do want to, before we get into the nuts and bolts of digital disasters and learning to shepherd our kids' hearts in a online war zone, I do want to get you just very quickly, just so that our listeners, because we literally have people all over America who listen to this podcast, I want them to know a little bit about your credentials, where you're coming from. Aaron serves as the captain of the Knox County Sheriff's Office in the technology department. Tell us a little bit about your role. Just you give us the nutshell version of it, of what you do with Knox County Sheriff's Office.
I oversee over 36 people that do nothing but technology support, investigations, and forensics. It's kind of a 3-tier system. What that consists of, the support side with IT, so the housing, the data, the RMS, all those things. The investigative side of our investigators inside our technology business, they assist detectives in property crimes, family crimes, with gathering intel, gathering information, cell phone analysts. We have civilian analysts that's crunching crime numbers, trying to be smarter when it comes to the attack on crime, because technology touches everything. Then the last tier of that being forensics. We have a forensic division, or for physical forensics, where I have over 13 men and then women. There's one guy in there, God love him. And so that go out to do physical forensics. They take photos, fingerprint, but we're seeing that move towards technology well, with DNA, with touch DNA analysis. So that falls under technology as well. On top of that forensic side, we have our cyber forensic guys. And that's the 3 investigators that I have that do nothing but dump cell phones. Detectives arrest somebody, they have their investigation, they need the data off the phone. That's what they do.
Yeah.
We're out there pulling that off of. So people don't think about that, Justin. When they think about technology, you think about your Facebooks or your video games or your social media aspects. When on the law enforcement side, we're using them as tools to help us investigate criminal activity. Yeah.
Sure. And you all have a ICAC unit, right?
Yes, sir.
Internet Crimes Against Children.
Yeah.
And so largest division at the sheriff's office, I think I heard you say.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Yeah. We have more people in the technology division than any other single standalone unit in the whole sheriff's office, and that's good, right? I'm proud of that we're being, we're facing forward. We're looking forward to the future about where technology and where crimes are going to, and what we're going to be doing and how to investigate crimes. But at the same time, it's something that our citizens and our parents need to realize. If the Knox County Sheriff's Office thinks it's this important to have this many people investigating this type of crime and being involved with these type of victims, it must be pretty important, because in the government world, we have to articulate the numbers with stats.
Yeah.
We work this many cases because this is what we have.
Yeah.
And get more people.
Awesome. So obviously in your unit, you kind of said you have a 3-tiered approach to it. We're going to dial this in really to talk about just kids with devices, an iPad, a cell phone, what they're doing if they're engaged on the social media platforms. I actually brought some statistics, some of these you may be aware of, that I found very interesting. And I'm going to fly through these just to kind of set up the narrative about the reality of teenagers and technology. Under usage and exposure, what I was able to find in preparation for this podcast, 95% of teenagers have access to a smartphone. And I'm assuming that access is defined as, even if they don't have their personal device, how many times do we go into a restaurant and a 12-year-old, Dad, let me have your cell phone.
Exactly.
Mom, let me have your cell phone. And they hand it off to pacify them.
Yeah.
Nearly 50% say that they are online almost constantly. Over half of the teenagers in America log 4+ hours of screen time every single day. So I guess what I would say, Aaron, this is not just occasional use on the part of teenagers having devices. This is a constant environment that they're living in. Do you see some of those statistics to be true?
100% true, yeah. 100%.
Mental health impact, teens with high screen time. And I don't know how much of this you can speak into from your perspective of what you see. Obviously, no expectation to tell specific cases or anything, but 26% report, these are teenagers with a device in their hand, 26% report depression symptoms, with only 9.5% who have lower use of devices. 27% report anxiety, with 12% only reporting that have lower. This one blew me away. 1 in 5 teenagers say that if they have social media, it directly hurts their mental health. And that is that's a staggering thought. So we're not just talking about distractions here. We're talking about measurable proof that sometimes technology can increase a teenager's anxiety, their depression, and sometimes even suicidal behavior. Addictive screen behavior can double or triple the risk of suicidal thoughts and behaviors. That's absurd.
And that's the most scary part. And, and like you said, not to talk about any specific cases or whatnot, but we had one that kind of sticks out just to hit on real quick, where a 14-year-old who had access to a phone, she had a Twitter account, and she was saying things like, my parents just don't understand. I've tried to get the help that I need. Well, some of her friends saw that, and they went to their guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor started talking to her. Say, hey, listen, you needed some help. We want to get you some help. They get the parents involved, do all the things that they're supposed to do. Well, they determined that probably the best thing to do is to move this child away from some of the bullying that she was getting in school.
Yeah.
Moved her to a different school, different area. Well, kids, they learn, and they figure this out from other people talk. And that information had traveled over with her to this new school. So now she had reached out to her guidance counselor, to her friends, to her family to get the help that she thought she needed, which she did. And the help she got, now she's in a new environment. She thought things were going well, and now it catches back up with her again. The sad part is, Justin, is that then she went more to social media. Instead of going to the guidance counselor or parents, she went back to social media, starting to make these comments, right? Starting to make these tweets out about her mental health. Instead of going to the people that she needed to, she felt like, I've already done that and I didn't get the help I needed.
Yeah.
Well, since her parents was not monitoring that the way that she needed to be monitored, they didn't know it. They weren't aware of it. And then unfortunately, she took her own life. Wow. Now, as a parent, I mean, that's something that we don't even want to talk about, but how heartbreaking that is. But then to know after the fact that she was looking and she was reaching out through social media, reaching out in her own way to try and get the help that wasn't there.
Yeah.
So as a parent, what I suggest to parents is if your child is involved, right? And I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor. I'm talking about real cases in real life here. You have to be on the platforms your children are on, okay? There's no better way to understand and explain something to keep your child safe than if you know it yourself.
Yeah.
You knew how to ride that bicycle. You knew how it hurt if you fell off of it. You know that. You have to be on there with them.
Yeah, and I want to be inevitably clear before I even go one step further, because we're going to talk. There's a biblical word that I'm going to bring out here in just a few minutes, and it's of a sound mind. And that word, anytime we find that word sound mind, it conveys the idea of balance. And I'm not in any form sharing these statistics for parents to go rip the phones out of their kids' hands and say, you'll never have this again, because it's not the case in every circumstance. Right. This is not that it's not that I'm anti-technology. You said it a while ago, technology can be used for a blessing or it can become a burden. Yeah. And it's all in how you utilize it and use it.
Right.
But what I am indicating is that unguarded and unguided devices in our teenagers' hands can become explosive that are going to blow up.
Yes.
And that's what we're talking about in a moment like this. Look, I'm a pastor, you're a police officer. And so our professions are different, but in the end of the day, what we often see is a lot of the same results when we don't guard and guide our teenagers when we're putting it in their hand. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. Just a couple of other things here. Addiction and overuse. 45% of teenagers say that they spend too much time on social media. That's them admitting.
Yeah.
Almost 45 out of 100 kids are saying, I'm on it too much. And I admit that I'm on it too much, which is probably more of a tattletale on their parents that are permitting that. Nearly 1 in 3 teens show signs of addictive screen behavior. This is a big one here. Emotional and identity impact. 34% of teenage girls say that social media makes them feel worse about their lives.
You know, that's so true. And the sad part to me is God creates us each individually in our own way, right? And hey, my nose may be a little bigger than yours, right? I may not have as pretty eye color as you do. You're a pretty man, Justin.
I don't
right?
have your hair,
so
though.
There you go. You don't have
that
right.
hair.
That's right. So filters, right? It's so sad when these kids, they think they have to put all these filters, and now there's one thing when they're putting funny bunny ears on and making these pictures and having fun with it. But when it gets down to the psychological, the part where they think they have to have this for people to accept them, to be prettier or to be thinner or to be, whatever it is in their mind, that's when the psychological side steps in. And as a parent, you have to identify that, because you have to identify, hey, I understand kids are being fun and having a filter here and there, but when it starts affecting them emotionally of, they're trying to portray somebody that they're not, that's where it gets tricky. Okay?
Oh, for sure.
And there's all kinds of different ways that we can help them and we can help our children, because social media and technology, it's nothing new. It's been around, right? But the way our children are adjusting to it. And there's kids now, you go to any school, and of course they've taken phones out of schools, which I agree with, but they're still on that phone. They're still addicted to that phone. Yeah. They're figuring out ways to get the phone in or ways to use the phone still because of that. It's that communication, right? That they want that.
Yeah.
They want to feel important. They want to feel like, someone thinks they're pretty, or someone, reshares their post. And what happens is they start getting addicted, Justin, to the likes and the clicks.
Oh.
And, how many likes do I get on this picture? How many comments can I get when I do this?
It builds their confidence. It builds their identity.
Yes.
It's exactly what happens.
And you have to have somebody to kind of focus all that in. Yeah. Say, hey, listen, I know, because there's a lot of kids that get popular online. They are. Right. And they have pages and they have posts and they get popular and then, but you have to have someone there to ground it. Right. Yeah. To say, hey, listen, when we're having dinner, I don't want you to have your phone out.
Yeah.
When you're in your bedroom at night, you're not going to have your phone with you.
Yeah.
You still have to have those parameters as a parent to protect your children from technology.
Yeah. When we're talking about the whole identity and emotional impact that social media and the internet world has on our teenagers, one of the things that I try to teach our church, and if there is a young adult listening or a teenager listening, we have to remember that on social media, we are comparing the worst parts of our life to some of the most fabricated and best parts of everybody else's.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is nobody ever posts when they gain 10 pounds.
That's right.
They only post when they lose it.
Yes. Yeah.
Nobody online ever posts when their kids are acting foolish.
Yeah.
They only post when they win valedictorian, or they get the trophy at the tournament, or they win the new ring at the baseball event that they were at.
Yeah.
And so you got to remember that when you're watching other people's lives, we're seeing the best versions of them.
That's so true.
But behind the scenes, the reality is we're all fighting battles. We all have wars that we're waging, and we just don't post about that. We don't tell about that. And so...
And you got to remember too, with social media and it's so easy now to get your own opinion out there, right? Because people talk about, in different, different aspects of, anybody can just say anything online. You don't know what's true or what's not. That's true, right? I mean, because never in the history of time have we had this much control over being able to reach so many people, through social media. And when it comes to our children, we have to be careful of that, because, who are they friends with? How secure is their account? Because I tell people every day, children have a problem with, are they my friend, or are they an acquaintance, or are they just somebody I don't know at all?
Right.
It's up to the parents to monitor that friends list. Make sure it's not stretching out. With my children, I would always tell them, hey, do you know the person, or you have contact with them every day, you talk to them every day? That's a friend. A friend is not your best friend's cousin, who lives in Kentucky, right?
That's exactly
so
right.
you have to make sure you're monitoring those friends lists. Monitor who they're, because if they're friends with them, then whoever that is has access to their pages, to their posts, to say whatever they want to.
For me personally, traveling around the southeastern part of the United States and speaking at a lot of different events, a lot of different churches, you roll into this event, you roll out, and next thing you know, everybody from that church or that seminar, they're friending me. Well, when that friend request pops up, it becomes obvious based off where they're from, that okay, they were from this previous event.
Right.
But when I have two mutual friends, honestly, Aaron, I bypass it. I mean, there's no commonality there.
Right.
And I just try not to, it's a personal thing. I'm not saying people that do that are wrong, but I do not take my securities are not built off of how many digital attachments I have from somebody's Facebook page.
And that's what we have to be. You have to relay that same thing to your children.
Absolutely.
Because kids, they want that attention. They want that. And it's up to parents to make sure they're getting the right attention.
Sure.
And they're getting the right amount of time. You speak a lot about numbers, about how much they're on their devices. But if you think about it, Justin, when we was kids, if you said, hey, I've got a device that gives you access to every sports score, to every sporting event, pictures to all your favorite people that you like to watch on TV, all your friends, pictures of your friends, you'd have yanked it out of my hand. Right? I'd have yanked it out of my dad's hand if he told me that, right? Because that's cool, right? I get
That's awesome.
access to cartoons.
Who wouldn't want it?
Anything I want. So it's up to the parent to still be a parent.
Yeah.
You can't be a best friend to your child.
Well, we could talk about social and developmental effects, the exposure risk. You talked about bullying a while ago. Cyberbullying, the stat that I found says that 60% of teenagers who have a device report to experiencing it. We'll probably revisit that in just a moment. Sexual content, violence, and harmful ideologies. I mean, we could keep going. Point is, I wanted to just kind of launch at least the first part of this to let parents that are listening know, look, the risks are real. There could be rewards to them having the devices, but the risks are real. And you and I, you kind of indicated this just now, we didn't grow up with this kind of level of access.
Right.
We didn't have these at our hand. And so really what I really want to lean into for the remainder of our podcast, Aaron, is because you and I didn't have that level of access, then what we're trying to do is we're trying to parent something that we never experienced, which creates its own complications. And we're trying to blindly feel our way through, like, where do I balance it? How do I figure it out? And we're going to talk about it from a pastoral perspective, but I want you to talk about it from a professional perspective as well. For me, what's really at stake here is the heart issue. If I can form my kids' hearts, because here's what I know, that identity is shaped by, often we've talked about it, likes and follows and comparison. Sometimes, let's lean into this one for a minute, the exposure of what our kids see and the ease of access that device brings, they're not emotionally mature enough for it yet.
No, they're not. They're really not. And every child's different. I think that's important to make the point now. I raised 4 girls, 4 beautiful girls. And one of them was always wanting a phone, always online, always doing the things online, wanted the Twitter accounts, wanted the Instagram. The other one could hardly even pick it up. Right. And the odd part is just raised exactly the same. They make the same meals. They was raised the same thing. Yeah, but they're all different. Can I throw a
verse in for you there?
Absolutely.
Train up a child in the way that he's old. When he's old, he'll not depart from it. There is a verse in there. There's a the ideology behind that verse literally says, find your child's bent, because they all are a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I even, being a guy, you had all girls. I have a girl and then 2 boys. Oldest daughter, Lydia, has a phone. Lincoln just recently had a phone, got a phone. I'll tell about what that process looked like in a moment. But even raising different genders, there's a major difference.
It really is.
Lincoln doesn't take identity cues from what he sees online.
Right.
Lydia's much more prone to do that, being a 15-year-old girl.
And you know what? That's part of being a parent. You have to identify that.
Absolutely.
You have to be able to see, all right, I've decided that now it's time for my child to have a phone because I'm wanting to monitor them on a different level. You have to look at that and say, how is she handling this versus him? Because they are different. Everyone
it's part of that training. Training is literally, that's the identify your kid's bent. Yeah. So you know when your kids when they can handle it, when they can't handle it.
Yes.
Even down to we know when our kids are able to stay at home by themselves, and you could have a 12-year-old that's completely capable of doing that, but you may have another 12-year-old raised in the same house and they can't handle that. You can't do that.
And that's part of the parenthood, right?
It is parenthood one-on-one.
That's why you don't get an instruction booklet when the baby's
Absolutely.
little.
And the scary part is, before I forget to say this, what our grandfathers grew up in a day and age where they had to literally go to a gas station if they wanted to be exposed to sexual content, stand there looking over their shoulder in hopes and prayers that nobody from the town would come in and see why they were looking at a magazine rack.
Yeah.
Then our fathers had access to it through cheater boxes or through, looking up at an HBO movie. Yeah. Now our kids, unfortunately, they got it in the palm of their hand all day long.
Yeah.
And with one wide open Google search, they're exposed to whatever they want to go find. And so the access to, people say all the time, the world is so much worse. The world is so much more evil. The world is so much more terrible. Here's my belief. I don't believe that the human heart is any more depraved or wicked as it was in Noah's day. The problem is we have the technological advances, and when they are not censored and when they're not controlled and they're not taught how to utilize it in a way that honors God and brings good to our life, it becomes an absolute nightmare.
That's right. It's so easy to access this information. But on the other hand, we have technology that has helped us.
Absolutely.
There's safe browsers to where, your children can't get on to adult explicit material because they have to use a browser that blocks those. Yeah. There's features inside the phone that allows you to block that content. Even when it comes to music, there's grades now. I don't know. You remember as a kid, you probably remember when it happened, because I do, when it started, changing the way that PG and PG-13, and they did the same thing with music.
For sure.
Right? And then it was video games.
Yeah.
So now everything's graded of your maturity level and the content level, because a lot of kids, they want to play Grand Theft Auto, and you look like, whoa, they've got a lot of adult material in here, right?
Man, you talk about music, and my mind immediately goes to 3rd, 4th, 5th grade playing basketball at Alice Bell, and an MC Hammer being the thing that was out. And if you go back and you listen to the MC Hammer lyrics, there was really nothing terrible in those lyrics.
Right. Yeah.
It really wasn't. Yeah. He was just too legit to quit, hey. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you get into this new demographic where it's like the NWO or NWA and Tupac and them are coming on, and Ice Cube and them are coming on, and the lyrics are getting a little more violent.
Yes.
They're getting a little more, and we can kind of see that transition in the technological world as well.
Absolutely.
Aaron, I'm not trying to paint you in a corner here or ask you something you don't know. Do you have any way of knowing about what the average age is when kids are most of the time exposed to the content that they're exposed to, what we would call dangerous or explicit?
Well, that's a very good question. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what I want to talk about when should they have access to these type of devices. But the way that we looked at it, me and my wife, and I talked to other parents, is once your child gets to middle school, that's about the age where they're starting to get, they're shown different things, more things, they become more independent, right? But now every child's different. So your child may be in middle school and they're not as independent as others may be. But as from a parents of when do they get a phone, it's when do you think you need to monitor what they're doing and where they're at and how, because you're using a tool for you, not for them.
Yeah, and hold that thought. Stay there. This is our disclaimer. Did you hear what he says? When do you, as the parents, think that it's right? This podcast has nothing to do, this episode has nothing to do with us telling you when your kids should get it, when they shouldn't get it, should they have it. Right. That's my disclaimer. That's your disclaimer. That's your job as moms and dads to know.
Hey, listen, I've got friends that have raised their children, and they did not get a phone until they were 16 years old. The other one, I've had them not until they was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And that's up to you as a parent. If you feel like your child don't need it, they're not responsible enough for a phone, then that's on you, right?
Yeah.
But look at it different. Look at these as tools to help you guide them into a world that they're getting ready to go into, and that is that digital world. Because no matter how you look at this, when they start that digital online presence of their email address, their social media accounts, people are going to be looking at that. Colleges look at it. Jobs look at it, and they've already started it.
Yeah. Let's move into another segment here, and that's finding that healthy balance, because I think you're already all over it. I said a while ago that the Bible uses a lot in the book of Proverbs and even in the New Testament, sober-mindedness, which literally is the idea of finding a healthy balance. Paul actually said in Romans chapter 12 for us to be sober-minded. And in that context, he says, for a man not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but at the same time, don't be insecure. Well, let's kind of roll that over into the digital world, the technological world, the devices and the screens and the access to the internet that we give our kids. I don't think we're called to fear technology.
No.
We shouldn't be afraid of it, but at the same time, we are to be sober-minded about it. And it's a matter of not just managing their behavior, but shepherding their hearts so that they learn how to use it.
Well, and here's something to think about. Right now, like, what is our current trends in technology? Right now, we're looking at more AI chatbots, okay? And what I mean by that was ChatGPT, right, with Gemini, with different web searching abilities, utilizing artificial intelligence with chatbots. Now, it's kind of like when people say, I want a Coke, right? It may be a Pepsi, it may be an RC, it may be a different product, you're calling it a Coke. They are all chatbots. So when you look at Grok, when you look at Gemini, when you look at ChatGPT, they're all part of this chatbot environment. Now, what does that mean? What that means is we're looking at new stages of how we search the internet. If you go to Google and you do a Google search and you type in, PBA golf, right? Or you type in a golfer's name, it searches for those words outside of websites. What chatbots do is they will find the websites and then they go into that website. They search internally in that website. And then there may be more links and it goes into another website. So then it gives you a return of, I've checked 60 different websites or 600 different websites that talk about this same subject you've searched. Then it gathers it all up. It uses artificial intelligence to give you a summary and then spits you back a response. So with that, it's great that you're getting more information, more detailed information instead of just a base search. But now kids are starting to use it for homework, right? Instead of writing their own papers, they're searching, write me a paper about this, or putting their math equations in and it does it for them.
Sure.
So technology is great and it can be used for great things, but you still have to see what they're using it for.
So let's stay on the AI generated things for a minute. Do your personal recommendation or professional, however you want to phrase that or frame that, would you advise parents to, even if their kids have access to a phone, what's your advice or encouragement regarding whether a child, I've chosen to not let my kids have AI stuff yet, partially because I want them to use their brain.
Right.
And I'm afraid that it's gonna take them away from using their own mind.
Well, and because with artificial intelligence, these chatbots, it's wanting to make things easier to do. So is it, graphic designers, for example, used to, if you want a logo make for the church, you want the springs and all these logos.
You got to go pay somebody.
Exactly.
That
understand Photoshop and understand all these digital ways to manipulate pictures and images. Now you can go to Grok or you can go to Chat and say, create me a logo for Clear Springs, make it green and white, and use this kind of font, and then boom, it generates you a logo.
Yeah, and if you don't like it, you can tweak it and prompt it, and within a few hits, you got it right where you want it.
So the technology is helping us, and AI is a smarter search, and it is smarter.
So what's a healthy age for a teenager to start meddling with the AI-generated things? Just your personal opinion.
My personal opinion, when they're in high school, and middle school is usually where it starts, and that's you're getting them a phone so you can see location services, where they at, who are they wanting to text and talk to. Then when it gets to high school, it kind of grows. Now they're using it more for homework because you have more homework in high school than you did in middle school, right?
Yeah.
So now they're using their technology to help with that. It's up to you as a parent to make sure they're not leaning on it too hard and they're still learning, but they're getting assistance from those technology means.
Yeah. I saw a stat that blew me away looking at some stuff last night in preparation. It said that less than, it was, I think, a 47, 48, less than 50% of parents check their teenager's phone.
That's scary. That's so scary.
It's absurd. So at our house, you kind of alluded to this, what you all did. At our house, we really try to, Hannah is really the one that's great at this. She checks our phones, kids, all the time. And when we see text messaging that's not appropriate, or and let me rephrase that. We've not really seen anything, but if we see anything, there was one little thread a few weeks ago where a bunch of boys at Gibbs Middle School with Lincoln, they were all picking at one guy, and we were able to sit Lincoln down and say, "Look, this is a quick way to lose your phone." And it all started over who was better out of Ohio State or Tennessee. But then it got personal, and it got to braces, and you wear glasses, and you're not mid, or you're mid or whatever. I don't even understand all that language, Aaron. I don't get it all yet.
But here's what you're monitoring it, right?
Yes.
And you're having discussions with Lincoln, and you're talking to him. Hey, is this good context? And like you said, faith-based and living your life as Christ and through Christ. Is this loving? Is it caring? Is this producing a positive energy, right? And you talk to your kid about that, and then what they'll start to see is, hey, mom and dad, they check my phone. So, I may not need to be involved in this conversation because, I know I'm going to get in trouble for it. They're going to talk to me. Whatever it is, you're still monitoring it, and you're still having conversations with your children about it.
Well, as a guy that sees the worst case scenarios of kids on phones, whether it's people that are cyberbullying, or whether it's our kids looking at content that they have no business looking at, or whether it is just the sexualization or the sexual exploitation of our children. What are some quick ones that come to your head immediately? What are some healthy, realistic boundaries that every parent should set if your child has a device?
Never let your kids post pictures in bathing suits. That's number one.
Great one.
There's no need to put your children, of course, when you go on vacation, you like to take pictures of the beach and at the pool, and that's for your memories. Okay. Yeah. Your memories should be different than the memories that you put on social media. With AI and with generated tools, they're using tools because now we're in a new stage. No one likes to talk about the internet crimes against children, and because it's a very horrible subject to talk about, but we're seeing digital manipulation of good pictures, right? Wow. So where they're skimming for images of children in bathing suits, and then they're taking those images and they're making videos out of those images, right? So is that really, we've had to change laws because having possession of that of a child, but it's not someone that's actually being victimized. It's all computer generated. So is that illegal? Right. And yes, it is. We've had laws changed to where possession of that is just, if it's possession, because it still is a real person. They're just not real. The good thing is they're not in danger, right? But their picture being manipulated to look like they are. So be conscious of that.
That's why I'm glad you're here. That's one I would have never thought of. When I asked that, I'm more like, don't let them have it in their room by themselves. Make them charge it in your bedroom. Check their content every night. But when you start thinking about just even the photos that you're posting of your children or allowing them to post, that's why I'm glad you're here, because that's the things that a lot of us as just parents that don't see the world that you see, we don't think about that.
Well, and you're right. And that's just like me. I'm a very social person, right? I love social media. I love Facebook. I love humor. I do things on, make people smile, make people laugh, have a good time on it. But what you don't see me posting is personal pictures of my family and my kids, and to an extent to where it's too much, where they can use these images and use this thing. Doesn't mean that I'm not happy or I love my kids and my wife. It's, what am I putting out there, right? What are people seeing that other people can get to turn it around and use it, for something wrong, right?
I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway, so you can say it into the microphone so they can see it, they can hear it. Should parents have full access to their child's phone?
100% yes.
100%.
Yeah. It's it should be your phone, and you're letting your child use it. Yeah. And you tell them, hey, I'm going to let you use your phone when you're not here with me. You're going to have my phone, right? Yeah. This isn't your phone, it's my phone. And when you're at school or when you're going to work or to from work, it's going to be a way that I can help you.
Of course, I serve. Aaron and I's connection is I serve as a chaplain with the sheriff's office. I was on a call back of this. I'll leave it at that. Pretty terrible situation that happened. The thing that probably amazed me the most is watching that mother and father weep and cry, sitting in that living room that night, completely unaware of the things that their daughter was engaged in. And it was all right there in the phone. And they didn't know.
And they didn't know. And how would you feel as a parent? And let's hope that it never happens, but if something happened horrible to your child, knowing they're trying to reach out to get that help, knowing they had that in their phone, and you didn't take the extra 10 minutes at night just to kind of look through that phone.
And even on the flip side, things that they are engaged in that were immoral, illegal, we could go on and on and on, but their parents are completely oblivious to it because they just don't take the time to look. And the photos are there, the text messages are there, the web searches are there. They're just not looking. So I would strongly encourage and advise to always try to be engaged in what's happening on that device.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about some practical tools for parents. Just off the top of your head, what's some practical tools that a mom or dad that's battling? Maybe they've just put the phone in their kid's hand. Maybe they're praying through it, trying to figure it out. They're wrestling for Lincoln. I battled with it because I don't want him to be exposed to anything that's going to mess him up. He's 12 years old. Yeah. But what got me was he made the middle school basketball team. They're practicing at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm dropping him off up there. He needs to know when to come home after practice. I bit a little bit earlier than I wanted to for more. Honestly, Aaron, it was more just to be able him to have access to me so I could know where he was. I didn't really want him to have it yet, but it became almost necessary for me to be comfortable to drop him off, leave him at the practice, pick him up. We monitor him very closely. But for a parent that's struggling, what are some practical tools that you would say, hey, these are things right out of the gate that I would tell you?
Here's what's great. There are tools out there, right? There's apps out there. There's different, Mama Bear, Circle, different. Bark's a huge one. So there are tools that will help you with this, right? Whatever works for you, and you need to research it. As a parent, you should want to research that. Hey, what's going to help me, monitor, Life 360, for example, being a great app to where you can put family location there, you put all your kids in there, you can see them all, it groups it all together. There's different aspects to it, with messaging with different alerts. But does it help you, right? There's a bunch of tools out there, but you could be, you could need a pipe wrench. And if you're working on computers, you don't need a pipe wrench, right? But so if you have a pipe wrench in your belt and you're working on computers, you're probably never going to use it, right? Use the tools that are out there for what you feel like that would help you with your child's technology.
Yeah, it's good. Phones in bedrooms at night, big no.
No.
Get them out.
Yeah.
Get them with you. Open door digital policy. Mm-hmm. For some reason, it's the wildest thing how a teenager can think, oh, my dad bought me a phone. My dad pays my phone bill, but my dad he's not allowed to have access into my phone.
That's right.
Stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
And you have to set that rule in place, pretty quick. Hey, if I ask for this phone, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
Right? And if I don't get it, you're going to lose it for sure. There's got to be checks and balances, Justin. You have to be able to, when they get in trouble, you have to, act on it. You have to talk about it. And I think as a parent, that's the parental side, not the best friend side. Hey, listen, I told you. We had to see your phone when we asked for it. You told your mama why. There's no why. It's you hand it over.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that we practice at our house is regular conversations about the phone, about what the rules are. I mean, there's many nights that we're sitting in the bed. We've got our television on. I may be reading a book, and I can hear Hannah, Lydia, yes, Mom, bring me your phone. Yeah. Lincoln. Yeah. Bring me, and she'll sit there and scroll, and she'll look, and she'll scroll. Yeah. And they have a very short window of when we say bring the phone to get us the phone.
That's absolutely
There's no
right.
time for them to be going in there and adjusting their stuff. It's bring the phone now. And here's what we do. Here's what we do. If you stay within the parameters of what we're asking you to do, we can expand those parameters. But if you get outside the fence, we can make that fence smaller too. Yeah. Our kids have a rule. Lincoln's phone literally shuts off at 9 o'clock at night. We've got it set up through all the Apple devices. Yeah. Funny story. I'll tell you a funny one. We were at Disney not long ago. Lincoln's FaceTiming with my dad. He takes his phone and he turns it down. He didn't have a shirt on. Yeah. He's a male, 12-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Turns it down. His phone shuts off immediately. Yeah. The parameter that we had set up just through Apple, a guy here at our church did it for us, shut it off. He had to bring the phone to us because he literally was just being silly with my dad and turning the phone down.
Yeah, well, and those are tools they're great tools. So it's built into the operating system. There are things that you can do that you don't have to purchase, you don't have to buy. There's parameters you can set when they can use it, when they can use the data, when they can't use it, when they can make phone calls, when they can't. And people don't know that, but it's easy to search.
Yeah, and those are so handy because Lincoln's phone shuts off, bam, 9 o'clock at night. Yeah. Lydia, we've moved that out to 11 o'clock. She's a little older. She works with us. And so those regular conversations, that ongoing discipleship is good, not just when you have those blow up one-time lectures. Here's a big one, and we'll kind of wrap this up. Modeling it yourself. If our kids see us doing this 8 hours a day, and this is all we ever do, then they're learning from us in more ways than one. Yeah. They're not just learning, our habits and our hurts and our hangups. They're literally learning. And if we're doing that all the time, then the truth of the matter is, Aaron, give one simple step that a parent could take or should take this week guarding their kids in digital disastrous world.
The one thing that I can tell every parent right now, don't take anything for granted. Don't assume that you know it all. Talk to them. I would get their phones tonight. Whenever you listen to this, when this is over with and you're sitting there, have a conversation with them. Hey, let me see your phone. Let's talk about what are you using on your phone? Because if we can just get parents engaged enough to ask their kids what they're using and see what they're using, there could be some things on there they're talking to people that they don't really know, or they're friends with people they don't know, or using apps the parents don't even know about. You know, so communication. Talk to your children.
Where do you think parents go wrong? Do they just get lazy, apathetic?
I think it's hard for parents to, like, oh, you know, they've worked all day, they've had to fix supper, they get ready, they got school in the morning, they're washing clothes, and when they just lay down in the bed, they just want to relax, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, human nature. It's like, I'm tired. I don't want to have to sit here and go through a phone, right, or look at a phone. But you're going to have to take the time because it's part of it's part of parenting now to look and see what your kids are talking about.
Probably more necessary than ever.
Amen.
One of the things I would say as we kind of bring this episode to a head is that we're not just raising kids to avoid the world. That's really not the goal, but how to teach them how to navigate it wisely. We teach them discernment and self-control, and that their identity is found in Christ and not in a one-time validation. And I don't think that the goal, something that I wrote down in preparation for this podcast, is that the goal isn't to raise kids that's disconnected from technology. I don't know that we can do that in this generation, hardly, unless we live in a hole somewhere. It's not to raise kids that are disconnected from technology. It's to raise kids that are not controlled by it. Yeah. Like, it doesn't have to determine your identity. It doesn't have to have every facet of your attention. And I think it's important for us to understand that. I'm going to fire you a couple rapid fire questions just for an engaging moment as we finish it out.
Absolutely.
Biggest myths about teenagers and phones.
Myths that they're going to make mistakes. Okay. Accept that. Know that there's, you know, the way you discipline that and the way that you handle that's up to you as a parent.
Yeah.
But go ahead and think it. No kid's perfect. They're going to make a mistake. They're going to say something inappropriate. They're going to say something about some other kid, just like what you just talked with yours. You know, like, hey, this is getting a little personal. You know, it started off general. Now they're going to make mistakes.
Okay.
They're going to make mistakes.
All right. Number 2, most dangerous app trend right now. Is it AI?
Listen, Snapchat continues. We just come back to Snap, and because it is such a big communication tool that has a lot of tools inside of it that kids like and they think it's fun.
And just really quickly, for those that have no clue what Snap is, tell that real quick.
Snapchat's it's a communication tool, like a texting app. You know,
disappears, right?
Yes, yeah. We can still get the information. That's a common misconception that they know.
Well, you can, but a lot of times parents
can't. They can't see it, but then they start sharing their location on it because then they have avatars.
All right, digital world. One rule that every home should have if your kids have a cell phone.
If your child is going to be on, if your child is going to be on a social media outlet or to have access to an email address or whatever it is, you need to have it as well. You need to download. If they want Instagram, you're like, okay, it's time for Instagram. You need to be on Instagram.
I love that.
Their first friend request should be you, and you should be theirs back.
Got it. This one's really fun. It's a twofold question. This one's really, really fun. One thing that you're talking to the parents now, one thing that all teens wish that their parents understood about devices.
That these kids are not going to use it all for bad stuff. You know, a lot of parents think, oh, technology is evil. These phones are evil. Kids, they just want to play those games, right? They want to have that communication. They want to see pictures of their other friends. You know, everything about a phone is not bad.
All right. And if in the event we have a teenager listening, what do all parents wish their teenagers knew?
Wow. You know, I think all parents wish that that, hey, we love you and we are protecting you, right? It's to have this device, to have these responsibilities, it means something, right? It means that I trust you as my daughter to tell me if someone starts bullying you, or to tell me and that communication, that open chain of communication with your children and their devices.
Yeah, I love that. It's protective.
Yeah.
It's we tell our kids all the time when we're checking their devices, this is not because we're trying to micromanage your life. We're not trying to make you miserable. We love you. Yeah. We know the dangers that are out there. We've often, as parents, been bit by those dangers. You used the analogy a while ago. We've had our own bicycle wrecks. Yeah. So because we've had our own bicycle wrecks, we want to do what we can to protect our kids from the same mistakes and the same hurts that we had to deal with. And so the truth is that it's really a protective measure, and that's really why we do it. Aaron, is there anything, as I wrap it up, is there anything that you want to say? First of all, I appreciate you took the time out of your schedule to come and do this. It means the world to me. But you've got a captive audience. They're riding down their road right now. You're coming through their radio. They're sitting at home in the office watching you on YouTube. Yeah. What would you say to those parents in the last summary statement of this episode?
Talk to your kids more about technology. Right? Talk to them more. They know more than you know about it probably. And if they're wanting to be on something, they may already be on it or in some aspect of friends on it, but be able to talk to them.
Yeah.
You know, find out why do they want Instagram? Why do they want Snapchat? Have these discussions with them. We're not talking to our kids enough when it comes to safety measures and social media. So,
which brings me down to the last thing that I was going to say. The digital world's not going away, but neither is your influence. And you don't have to win every single battle overnight, but you do need to step into the trenches. And you just said it. Stay engaged, stay present, stay prayerful, because at the end of the day, we're not just protecting screens. We are protecting hearts. We're shepherding hearts. Aaron, thank you for everything that you do for our county. Thank you for what you do for our sheriff's office, what you and your team is doing, the work that you're doing to keep our families safe. It does not go unnoticed. And to everybody that's listening, if this episode has helped you, please take the moment to share it with another parent that's trying to figure this out too. We're all trying to do this together, and we're all better when we work together to make it happen. So protect those kids, keep them safe, and thank you so much for tuning in. This is Between the Trenches. Until next time, we'll see you soon. God bless you, and I hope you have a great day.